Drew McIntyre has just won the Money in the Bank briefcase, although later in the night, before he can officially cash in, CM Punk assaults him with the two brawling to the back, and on top of this, Rollins is distracted, which allows Damian Priest to nail himself a Heaven chokeslam to pick up the win and retain the World Heavyweight Championship. But from here, this timeline follows the event of the real world, all up until the debut episode of Raw on Netflix, where Drew ends up managing to connect a Claymore to overcome main event Jey Uso. And after being able to defeat both Sami Zayn and Jimmy Uso, Drew consistently demands for a match with Roman Reigns, although it seemingly falls on deaf ears. So he decides to target the wise man, as he decimates Paul Heyman on the Raw before the Royal Rumble, yet the OTC doesn't show up for the save, which leaves Paul in a bloody mess in the ring. And because of this beatdown, Nick Aldis cancels the trade of SmackDown for Drew McIntyre, who is now forced to remain on Raw. Although at the Royal Rumble, rather than being eliminated by Damian Priest, he manages to counter and send the former El Campeon out of the match. But as he taunts at the former world champion, Roman Reigns comes out of nowhere and eliminates him. Drew is furious. He can't become a double champion at WrestleMania with assistance from his Money in the Bank briefcase. So after dropping Priest, he slides back into the ring and nails a Claymore onto the Tribal Chief before leaving the carcass behind. Although that's not what eliminates Reigns, as just like our timeline, he gets dumped out by CM Punk along with Seth Rollins, which leads to chaos erupting, with Reigns getting stomped onto the steel steps. And Drew of course loves this, as following his victory over Sami Zayn, he just laughs at the fallen Tribal Chief along with the failures of CM Punk, which doesn't bring out Punk, but it does bring out a man who may hate the straight edge saviour just as much as Drew does.
Burn it down!
Seth Rollins is here, and ahead of his Elimination Chamber qualifying match, Seth demands for Drew to leave Punk and Reigns to him, and for him to go after someone else, which the Scottish Warrior obviously refuses. And before he leaves, Drew attempts to claymore Seth, but he counters as the two get into a brief scuffle, which briefly pauses when the man of the hour arrives. CM Punk is in the building, and because of Drew being distracted from a ghost of his past, Seth is able to nail a stomp on him before launching himself at the straight edge saviour. It's utter madness on the road to the Elimination Chamber, and because of the three men's disdain for one another, to ensure the chamber is as fair as possible, Drew is forced to enter the chamber on the condition that if he wins, he must give up the Money in the Bank briefcase, which he very reasonably is not happy about. Nevertheless, at the show itself, all three of these men come into contact with one another. Although with Seth looking for a stomp, we see something akin to what Shawn Michaels did to The Undertaker in the 2010 Elimination Chamber match. Roman Reigns has just laid out his three most bitter rivals, and because of this, Logan Paul is able to scurry over and eliminate all three men. Everyone hates this, although there's still one more man Logan has yet to conquer. But regardless of that, Drew is furious that Roman Reigns has cost him two back-to-back chances at main eventing WrestleMania. Although on the other hand, he's somewhat thankful that he still has the Money in the Bank briefcase. Yet as he says this, he gets jumped by none other than Seth Rollins, who is also furious due to Drew going after CM Punk. And speaking of, soon after, the straight edge saviour also involves himself in a wild brawl, which leaves only one man left to come out. And he does just that. Roman Reigns is here, and everyone is gunning to go after the Tribal Chief, but only one man can, as while CM Punk and Drew McIntyre do battle near the announcers table, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns go at it up the ramp. Although all four men's paths converge, as in the end, Reigns is able to nail a spear onto CM Punk to stand tall. And with this, Adam Pearce officially sanctions the main event of WrestleMania 41 Night 1. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. It's arguably one of the most stacked WrestleMania main events of all time, but before the match, Drew makes a quick pit stop in the opening match of the card. Drew McIntyre is gonna cash in. He's going to ruin Jey Uso's WrestleMania moment just like his was last year. And although Jey gets a near fall with a spear, he can't compete with the far fresher Scottish Warrior. As with 2 Claymore kicks, Drew McIntyre wins. He is now the World Heavyweight Champion. But because of this, CM Punk decides to cash in his favour with Paul Heyman ahead of the Fatal 4-Way, which makes the match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Even if it wasn't planned, this is Punk's prime opportunity to win a world title, and on top of that, he wants to do it in the main event. But who will win? Can CM Punk cash in his favour successfully? Can Drew McIntyre retain? Can Seth Rollins become a 2-time World Heavyweight Champion? Or can Roman Reigns win his first title since the end of his historic WWE title run? Well, with Paul Heyman in the back watching on, the match is on. And as soon as the bell rings, Reigns almost instantaneously spears CM Punk, which sends him out the ring. And although Roman and Seth hate each other's guts, they know the threat Drew poses. So Roman sends Drew out the ring, who gets immediately dived onto by the Architect. And then it's time for some good old nostalgia, as Reigns and Rollins nail the triple powerbomb as if we're in 2012. But nothing lasts forever, as if Drew's back almost broken in half, Reigns manages to hit a spear out of nowhere. Although as he looks to finish the job on Rollins, he notices CM Punk get to his feet. So Reigns runs into the ring, and he looks for yet another spear, but Punk manages to counter before almost instantaneously locking in an anaconda of ice, which doesn't last for too long, as Roman escapes the hold, then connects a Superman punch, and from here, he goes into the corner and lines Punk up for the 3rd spear of the match. Although the straight edge savior once again counters before looking for a GDS, yet this gets countered as well. Then the 2 warriors just begin to trade strikes, but Roman starts to get on top, so the best in the world has to rely on his wits to stay in the fight, and that aids him enough to where he stuns Roman with a big hit before being able to nail the GTS. Are we going to see a new world champion? Well, Drew McIntyre doesn't think so, as he manages to break up the pin, and this naturally makes Punk furious, as he starts swinging with reckless abandon on the Scottish Warrior, but Drew is too strong, as he completely bulldozes his way through Punk. Although in a genius move, the straight edge savior rolls to the outside, which gives him enough time to grab a chair and smash it into Drew's skull, as both men continue to brawl on the outside. And this is a similar story with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, as after dragging the Tribal Chief to the outside, Rollins hurls him into the ring post before stomping him over and over, although he wants to hit a curb stomp to keep Roman down, but he just can't hit it, yet he is able to connect a pedigree onto the concrete floor. But Rollins wants more, so he starts to redecorate the announcer's table, and after nailing a stomp on the Reigns, knocking him out cold, he drags the lifeless corpse and puts the OTC onto the table. And what Rollins does next is what makes him well known as the true best in the world. Roman Reigns is out, but just like when he got distracted, so does Rollins, as he goes over towards Drew and Punk. As with Drew hurling Punk into the ring, Seth comes out of nowhere, taking down the champ and planting him with a stomp. But the Architect wants to pin the quote-unquote best in the world, so he goes to the top rope. He wants a super stomp, yet he can't connect it, as Punk gets up too quick, so he's forced to just dive with no care for his own safety, which costs him the biggest match in his career, as Punk is able to counter and plant him with a GTS. And with that, Rollins goes to sleep. CM Punk is the new World Heavyweight Champion. He has proven why he earned the moniker as the best in the world. Drew's heart is crushed for the 3rd WrestleMania in a row, and for a 2nd time, he won the World Heavyweight Championship, only just to lose it in his first title defense. And CM Punk savours the moment as he rubs it in Drew's face as he walks to the back, which he also does for Roman Reigns. But as Reigns is about to reach the backstage area, he gets interrupted by someone incredibly disappointed in his own family.
If you smell what the Rock is cooking.
The Rock is here, and he's crashed the Night 1 WrestleMania main event. But why? Well, we find out when a certain wise man turns against his own tribal chief.